I'm Randall and I'm an addict. Everybody always talks about go to the meetings and get a connection. We need connection. We need connection. I'll tell you about my connection to Frank. Years ago, I was working at a place in Charleston to help Frank and guys like Frank. I stole some money and got high. And when Frank was there, Frank was transitioning to a job at a homeless shelter. And I was wilding again. And so I was working with Frank, and a month later, Frank was working with me. And we looked at each other like, what the hell? Because, see, we grew up 10 miles apart. I'm from Bluefield, he's from Princeton. But we never met in the dope game. So I kept wilding for a while, and Frank kept growing. And along the way, we bumped heads again. I had a stretch of 4 years, 11 months, and 2 weeks of recovery. And my trigger is emotional relapse. Woman hurt my feelings, I get high. So I get into this thing after getting clean. And I go to an area picnic, and I'll be damned, Frank's the speaker in Fairmont. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm 10 months clean, and Frank's the speaker. And, I got over the guilt and shame, and we hugged it out and talked. And then I get to training for peer recovery coach in 2012 and started it in 2013. And I'm working at a place in Buchanan, West Virginia, and the director said, hey, it's a guy named Frank. Says he knows you. You know him? I was like, hell yeah, I know him. And so I got to go pick up Frank from a facility. He had relapsed. And the man that will speak tonight is about 100 pounds more than he was that day. You may laugh, but it was sad to me. I didn't recognize him. From that point, Frank wanted to go to his mother's house. And we go get some stuff. And she's an older Italian lady. And she said, hey, I don't know where you're taking my Frankie, but he needs some help. And I'm a mama's boy, and that hurt me. I felt that. And Frank and I have talked about that many times. He said, my Frankie needs some help. And I said, we're going to do the best we can with him. So Frank comes to Buchanan, and he wanted to give up. Frank wanted to quit. And myself and the director there said, you cut yourself short, bud. You cut yourself short. He's like, okay, I'll put some effort into it. And he got a job, and he worked that job and worked it hard. And then he bought a car. And then the next thing you know, an opening came up, and Frank got that job working at the recovery house. And so here Frank and I working together again. And that didn't go well for me and Frank for a while. We argued like hell. And I'm talking about real arguing. Motherfuck you, this, that, all of that. We argued over white privilege one night at a speaker jam. I don't know who won. But I know I hated him and he hated me after that. And we shared the office as big as this bathroom back here. And I was never going in that office again because I don't like him. And then from that day on, when we hugged it out and talked, we started talking about we were all we had. We had been through hell together. And from that, me and Frank sitting there crying, mad as hell at each other, but we were able to hug it out and talk. And from that time, Frank and I got a little better. And we still argued at times. We still had more arguments, but they were always finished up with understanding and no more hate. And time has gone on. Unfortunately, Frank lost his mother. And I had experience from losing my mother. And through that connection that Frank and I had, we talked every day for about a month. every day because I knew he needed to talk. And our relationship had grew to the point where if he didn't answer, I was going to keep calling. It's a pain that I can't explain the loss of a mother's pain, but I knew he felt it because I knew the man. And so, I tell this thing about us arguing about white privilege, and I tell you tonight, I feel a privilege to introduce Frank Pensula to speak here tonight. I love this man because, see, I would have relationships that broke up later, and we talked through it, and I didn't have to get high because he knew what the pain was, the emotional pain of thinking you the man, and a woman tell you you ain't shit, and she go to another man, and you go, what? But I can't get high. But we talk through it to each other. You can't make that shit up. You can't replace it. And I was able to get honest with myself that I was destroying me as he's destroyed himself in the past. And we've got through other things together as grown-ass men. His story is unique, as all of ours are. He's on the good side now. And with that, I give you Frank Pensula.
Holy fuck, man. There's two speakers, right? Okay. I'm Frank, and I am an addict. And I am really, really nervous. I do move my hands a lot because, like Randall said, I am Italian. And I talk with my hands. Number one, I would like to... I'm grateful we're doing this again, man, because over the years, this has been a big part of my life coming up to Ripley. You know, we go 6 months and we start talking about, man, I need to get charged up. I need to get back to Ripley and get some recovery and recharge my batteries. And it's been a year and a half, man. I'm just so grateful that we're back here. You know, a lot of people, they get asked to speak after one of our conventions and they have to wait 6 months till they get to speak. Well, fuck, I've been waiting a year and a half. And you talk about being nervous now. I have been, and it really didn't kick in until this past week. I'm calling Cooper, different people, just like, man, look, I'm really getting nervous. And they're like, it's your story, Frank. You tell it like it is, So, I say fuck COVID, but I also respect COVID because I ended up with fucking COVID and during all that time, and I know a lot of people have lost a lot of loved ones to that, and I think we're back at the time we're supposed to be back, and it's really good to see everybody. I would like to thank the MRSCNA committee. They've been a big part of my life, and I just want to mention this too. This is not the first time I have been asked to speak here. I was asked to speak here, and I have to share this because it weighs heavy on me, on my heart. I was asked to speak here, and it's been several years ago, and I ended up getting high. Not because I was asked to speak here. There was other shit going on, but they would call me a week ahead of time. Hey, Frank, oh, yeah, I'm going to be there. I played it out because I didn't want these addicts knowing that this addict was using, which they already knew, Can't hide that shit from them. So anyway, that's why I'm very grateful to be standing up here tonight to be able to share a little of my story. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to start off about back in my childhood days. I started using at a really young age. It was that other drug, that one that starts with the A. You know what I'm talking about. I was 6 years old when I had my first drink. I seen a person sitting, making faces, doing that, taking it, whatever. And I was like, why you make a face? And he said, here. He gave me and I made a hell of a face too, I guess. But the thing is, though, I actually liked it. I liked it. I hear people saying I'm born an addict, all this shit. I don't know if I was born an addict, but I do know that I am an addict. I know that for sure. I'm really going to try not to cuss. I really am. I don't think I'll do very good at it. But, like I said, at 10 years old, I was getting blackout drunk. I would go out with friends. We would go in the stores and steal vanilla extract as a kid because, the shit tasted good, and I got high. I got drunk off of it. And I just kept doing shit like that. I remember being addicted to chocolate. I remember that I liked candy so damn well that I would be dropped off at church, at a Catholic church on Wednesday nights because we had to go and everything. And they had this box with these pamphlets and stuff in it, and there was a donation thing right there. And it was full of money all the time. So I knew, yes, I took the money from the church and I'd go buy me some more chocolate because I had to, it was just I had to have it. That's the kind of thinking that I do. And this kept on going. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so back in those days, there wasn't a lot of therapy going on. ADD, whatever the fuck it is, was not diagnosed and shit like that back then. Back then, they would say, "Oh, he's just a little backwards, fucking backwards," So they would tell me, he's just a little backwards. That's, and that's the way it went, and there was no therapy whatsoever. And I just kept doing that kind of shit. I was sent off to group homes, different things like that. My parents they could not control me. And this went on. Then finally, in my teenage years, it kept getting worse. It kept getting worse. That drug that I've been talking about, because here is where I found a drug, and it was a drug that I liked. It was an opiate drug, and I was doing that. And, man, everybody was so proud of me when they would see me. They said, "Man, look at Frankie, man. He finally quit drinking and shit. Just look at him, man. He's doing so good." And, I'm fucking wasted, And I'm like, yeah, I am doing good, So that was really good. And then that continued, man. It just continued. I got to the point to, it first started out like stealing from my mom, my grandmothers and shit, just getting in their pill bottle, or I don't want to use that term all the time, into their stuff and taking a few here and there until it got to the point where I was just taking it all. Didn't even think twice about it, And then when I was about 19, that's when I was sent to my first rehab. I went to rehab. And I was thinking the whole time, because back then, if you had the disease of addiction, which I do call it a disease of addiction, back then you could get a check for that shit, And I thought, well, all I got to do is go up here and complete this, and I could get some money every month, be able to take care of them, buy what the hell I needed to buy, and all that shit. Well, it didn't work out that way. Not for me, it didn't. I ended up, I had to work all my life and all that. But anyway, when I went to rehab, I actually, the things that I was doing, I went to rehab, got back home, stayed clean 2 days, I think, back out there doing the same shit. But the thing that was really getting me was that my stealing, my using got worse. I was not the type of person that would want to harm another person, but I was the type of person that I had to have my drugs. If you had a checkbook, we were not broke. And I'm saying we because as long as you had money, I had money if it was laying around. And actually, all of my crimes were for fraudulent schemes. And what it was, I would steal checks. I would write checks on people. And I did time over that shit, And did it teach me anything? Got out, went back doing the same shit, And I never could figure out why. Why is this like this? Why is this like this? Then finally I got introduced to some people in Narcotics Anonymous. And I want to say this. I love Narcotics Anonymous because I have been in and out of these rooms, and thank God I made it back to these rooms. There's so many fucking people that don't make it back, you know. And I am one grateful addict to be standing up here, to be able to share a story because I've made it fucking back up here and I didn't die out there, man. And I'm just very glad to be here. But the thing is, I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous. I love Narcotics Anonymous. I would get involved, you know, and people tell me to do. I remember one time a person told me, said, well, you need to read IP number 73 or whatever number it was, which was probably not a 73. But anyway, man, I didn't even know what a fucking IP was. So that's now why I will work with a newcomer. If there's a pamphlet I think maybe or some piece of our literature they should read, I'll go get it out of the rack and hand it to them because I could not ask somebody what IP stood for. Because my thinking on the way here was, I got to say something really smart tonight or something really profound, and I couldn't think of one fucking thing on a 2.5-hour drive here that would be smart or profound. So I'm very grateful to be here. But the thing was, in and out of the rooms, in and out, man, and I've seen so many people die, you know. But I would look for loopholes in the I just could not accept the fucking fact that I was an addict. I could not get clean in my hometown because I did not want to park out there at that church where all the other people knew that a bunch of drug addicts went down in that basement and they met. I could not humble myself to do that. And I've had people say, well, you take your head, your ass will follow, or if you take your ass, your head will follow. And it was true, but for some reason, I just couldn't get there. And I do remember when I got clean this time, there's a person that told me, sitting right there, told me one time, coming back into the rooms, and because I do a lot of service work when I get clean. I was doing a lot of regional service work and everything, and when I relapsed, I mean, it was fucking, I had a lot of shame and guilt, and that person told me, said, you know, I told him, I said, man, I'm just fucking humble and shit. And he told me, he said, you know what? It's okay to be humble. You don't have to be humiliated, but it's okay to be humble. And I'm okay with being humble. I've got a spot, well, I'm going to, before I never would, I just didn't believe in sharing with other people on a one-to-one or sharing in meetings about shit going on in my life, because back then I would be called like a pussy or something like that. No offense. I got a terrible mouth. But I was not a man if I had to share with another man that, hey, this girl broke my heart and shit like that, like Randall was saying. We could talk like that today. Randall and I have sort of made a commitment that we call each other every week, even though we still live in different towns and shit, because I need to have those connections with people in Narcotics Anonymous. I need to talk to people because I know what happens. I get high, and I've just been fortunate enough to make it back in here. Relationships, that was one of the reasons I liked really going to meetings and shit, because I used to like to go into the rooms and see what new women were there. I just like walk around the rooms, I'd always pour a cup of coffee, take it to the female newcomer, and then I had a sponsor say one time, he said, that guy over there is new, why didn't you take him a fucking cup of coffee? I don't know. But anyway, it took me years and years to figure out, and I'll say this and I'll say it twice, believe it or not, really, believe it or not, recovery is not sexually transmitted. It is not. And this is my experience, strength, and hope, all right? So that's why I'm saying that. But I have developed some really good relationships since I've gotten clean. With men, women, in this program, man, I've met some really great people. The people that I can talk to man to man. People that I could get the newcomer guy a cup of coffee, I could do that today. I couldn't hold down relationships. Come January, every year I'd end up with 17 fucking W-2 forms because I could never hold a job. I would work long enough to get paid, and then that was it, or I'd end up getting fired or whatever. So, today I only get one W-2 form, and I'm grateful for that. But my using, I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but forgive me. But anyway, my using it would be like, here's how I would start off by, I would quit doing any type of service work. I would quit doing, going to meetings. I would quit calling my sponsor. The things you guys told me to do, I quit doing. And before you knew it, my mind starts thinking the opposite way that I might have this shit now. I think I do. I've been doing okay. I ain't been going to no meetings and shit, and I think I might have this. And that's where it starts for me, and I end up getting high, and then the next thing you know, here I am tearing out my mother's checkbook, one in between 20 checks to pull one out of the middle so she won't see it for at least 2 or 3 weeks, and start the crime wave again. And then I end up in jail and everything like that. I do want to say, I don't know how many people sitting in this room from Ohio tonight. I'm sure there's quite a few. I actually love you guys, man. I love you guys. I remember coming back into the rooms this time, and this was before that. This was time before that. Yeah, if you don't keep going back out and getting clean and shit, you can remember a lot better too. So, anyway, I remember a guy named Mike V. I know you guys from Ohio know him, but he was up there giving his lead, and it was in the assembly hall back then. And I was like, damn, man, listen to this dude, man. What they do? Pay him to come here and speak and all this. This guy, and then he started talking about shit that I could identify with. I'm like, man, this dude's just, man, what? Me and him could be brothers or crime partners or whatever. And it really inspired me to want to be able to do this right here, And then my sponsor, this time clean, told me to start asking people, with help on step work. Find somebody out of your comfort zone and talk to them about step work. I don't know if Kurt's in here tonight or not, but he is. Okay, Kurt. Glad you're here. Oh, there. But anyway, I remember one time he was at a speaker jam in West Virginia, and I was on step 6, and I was really struggling with them character defects and shit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ask this dude. He came down here from Ohio and shit, and if I could get in line to speak to him, because, everywhere he goes, people want to speak to him. And he and I spent about 30, 40 minutes talking about that step, and it really gave me a different perspective to where I could actually complete that step. And that really was what I needed to do. Here's the thing with me. I look for loopholes in our basic text, because there's a thing in there that says, hey, we may need medication at some time. All right, well, there it is, and that's where I went. But it also says an addict never has to use too, and that's very true. Since getting clean this time, I've actually been able to get back into service work, and how I got clean was, like Randall said, he had to come pick me up, and I was in Nut Ward somewhere, or no, it was a hospital institution. I was there, and I ended up in Buchanan, West Virginia. I got clean, and I started going back to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and then I finally ended up going to do regional service again. And they have requirements on time before you can do any position, And it wasn't this last year. I was really wanting to be the RD, the regional delegate, because that meant I was going to travel to California, Maryland, all across the United States and shit. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm the RD alt now. I'm getting ready to do some big things. Well, here comes Zoom. Everything was on fucking Zoom, you know, so I didn't get to go no fucking where. So anyway, but I do want to say thank you, Zoom, because I struggled when that shit hit, that virus hit, and they started shutting down all the fucking meetings and everything. I was sick. I'm a sick addict, man. I just don't, how am I going to stay clean and shit, you know? And there was an addict told me, he said, you know, it says also in our basic text, we will do whatever we need to do or whatever it takes to stay clean. And if it means sitting and watching a Zoom meeting, then by God, I need to do that. And I did. And it probably saved my life because, you know, it was a big part of my life. So anyway, I still stay active with the service work in Narcotics Anonymous. I believe in it. Service work may not be for everybody, but it was for me. On the last, when I came back this time, I made a point that I will listen. I will listen to people when they offer me suggestions with an open mind, because I could close my mind real quick because I'm smarter than everybody in this fucking room, you know? I think so anyway. But, you know, that's not true at all. Just in case you were wondering, it's not true. But sometimes I would, like, listen to what they have to say. Man, I ain't going to try that shit. You're telling me to go talk to that person because me and that person got in all. You're telling me to pray for that person that I resent? Man, what's wrong with you? You know, and that's kind of shit, you know, I would fight it. I would fight it more than anything. And once I surrendered, that's right, I had to surrender to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I did not surrender to the program of Frankie P, because my program didn't do me a bit of fucking good. And the program of Narcotics Anonymous, if I work a program of Narcotics Anonymous, then things seem to go pretty well in my life. I don't have to use. And as long as my desire to stay clean is stronger than my desire to use, I'm okay today, you know? I don't have to worry about that shit. And the way that I keep that desire is I hang out with you people, man. You are my people. I have lost my dad, my brother, and my mother here in the past. And, you know, I'm like, holy shit, I have no fucking family left, you know? But I'm sitting here right now, or standing here right now, looking at all of you guys, and you guys are my family, man. Thank you. I love you guys. And, you know, it's good. It's just good to be here. I know that as time continues to go on, I've seen a lot of people. It seems like this pandemic with addicts, a lot of addicts have died, but the addicts die if there is no pandemic. Addicts die no matter what, you know, and it's really sad, and that's why I try to carry a message to keep the newcomer coming back, not just to show up for one meeting and you know, if I walked into a room and nobody welcomed me or whatever, then, you know, I probably wouldn't come back. And I try not to be that person today, because I was that person. Like I said, I would pour the female cup of coffee and nobody else. So today, I try to make each person feel welcome. I don't tell them, hey, can you go get that IP? Read IP number 10. That's going to save your life. When someone may not know what an IP is, or the language that we use, like GSR, RDs, and just a bunch of that stuff, you know, because when I came around, I didn't know what any of that stuff was, you know, until someone showed me. There's been people here that has died and gone on. Rocco A, I don't know if some of you guys may know who Rocco was. But Rocco, yeah, God bless him, man. This guy taught me a lot about service. He was handicapped. And for 5 years, I drove him. He and I came up here, did regional service together. And I'd go to pick him up, and the first thing out of his mouth would be, hey, Frank, man, what step are you on? Like, man, what the fuck, man? I'm just trying to pick you up. Why do we got to do all this? We're good, yeah, you know, but you know, I needed someone to do that to me. I needed someone to ask me that kind of stuff. And today, as the way that I'm actually staying clean, I have a sponsor, I have a home group, I do service work, and I listen, man. I listen and I work steps. I'm actually, it's the first time in my life that I've ever made it to the 12th step. And I'm working the 12th step, and hopefully this is, I was asking my sponsor about the 12th step, and you know, 12th step is carrying the message. And hopefully that I'm carrying a message here, you know, and I hope it's a message of love for this program. Step work, I didn't really think you guys did step work, man. I thought, because when I first came into the rooms and shit, y'all would be talking about steps and stuff, and they read that shit, they talk about it a little bit, but they don't do step work. Because I remember going to a 4-step meeting one time, and it was going around the table, and there was about 8 women in that circle around that table, and every one of them was fucking crying. They're talking about a 4-step, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't want to work that step, man. Ah, damn, you know, and but then I got there, man, and you know, like step 1, guys, for me, it was a total surrender. It is total surrender to the program. Because I would do stupid shit, and I promised someone I would mention this again tonight. I would be so strung out, it didn't matter how in the hell I was going to get the money to buy my shit, you know. I didn't care. I was going to steal, rob, whatever. I remember one time my neighbors, they went out of town. And my neighbor over this way was having a big-ass yard sale. I've been sick for 2 days, broke as shit. So I went up and got one of their yard sale signs out of their yard and put in my neighbor's yard. And I had a yard sale, and I made some fucking money that day. But I did detox in jail. But that's the kind of stupid shit that I will do. That is the stupid shit that I do, man. That's the time, 22? Okay. It's crazy, man. I remember one time the detectives come to my house. They said, hey, Frank, if you work this right, they'll do a plea deal with you. And I'm like, I don't want no fucking plea deal. I ain't done nothing. And he said, watch this. He played this video, and there I am just smiling away, fucking writing bad checks and shit. I said, well, what's that plea? Yeah, you know, because, you know, that's the kind of shit that I do, and I'm grateful I didn't have to do that. But step 2, man, I had to find I had to believe in something bigger than myself. This right here tonight is definitely bigger than myself. When I first came here, I was going to meetings and stuff like that. I didn't know what I knew. I had a belief in a higher power, but I wasn't really sure about that higher power because I'd be locked up in jail and say, God, you get me out of here this time, and I'll never do that shit again. And I'd get out and do the same shit again. You know, the jailhouse prayers, they don't work. And so anyway, I didn't know what it was. So in step 2, I finally worked it to where I had a power greater than myself, something to believe in. And then as I'm getting into the steps here, made that decision, you know, to turn my will over to the care of that God of my understanding. That was pretty tough too. You know, it was really tough. And then, of course, that one that I've seen all them women crying in that circle over at step 4, you know. I think through my first step 4, I probably, you know, it was pretty light. I didn't put all the shit in there I did because I had to share this shit. And I didn't want this person I'm sharing it with, even though he's my sponsor, I did not want him to know all the shit. So I have learned from that I have to be totally honest in my step work. I have to be honest in in all my affairs. You can believe this shit too. I am nowhere near perfect because if you hear some of the shit that comes out of my mouth, you was like, good God, he is one sick individual. And that's okay. But when I go into the rooms, into meetings, and when I share from my heart, because that's what keeps me clean. Now, I'll get outside there and bullshit with the rest of you, but when I'm in a meeting, you will hear nothing but total honesty from me. And that's how I stay clean with that, you know. It's tough trying to stay clean every day with all the shit that goes on in their lives. I do believe that I need to make those phone calls. I do believe that, you know, that I have to have a sponsor. I have to work steps. I believe in having a home group. I actually believe in fucking Zoom if I couldn't get to a meeting, you know, because this is what I need. This is the only thing that treats my addiction. And you guys, man, I just, it's been a year and a half since we've been here. And all I want to say is now is that, has this been long enough? We get through this? I'm just like, you know, man, I'll tell you, I'm still nervous as fuck too. And I'm just, shit's just going through my head. You know, it's like you see those things on TV where all these newspapers are spinning extra, read all about it. You know, I got all that shit going through my head right now. But I do know this, that if I could get clean and I could stay clean, you could do the same shit, you know. And I'm gonna tell you why that I'm glad how I'm able to be here. And this is where my addiction took me. The last time that I was out there, I was so sick and I needed a fix. There was nothing around. Nothing. And then there was a friend of mine. Hey, amen. There was a friend of mine. He had this type of pump inside his system. And some of you guys may know what I'm talking about. It was for pain relief. I was ready to kill him, to take the pump out of him so that I could get that fucking dope. And at that time, my phone rang, and my man said, come get it. And if it hadn't been for that, I would be sitting in the penitentiary instead of standing up here sharing with you guys. All I want to say now is I love you guys. Thank the committee for having me up here. I hope it was long enough. If not, okay, got a thumbs up. So, enjoy this celebration of recovery here. It's been a year and a half since we had it. I just love it here, man, and I love you guys, man. I really do. So thank you for letting me share.